everyone, welcome to the final day of the Console Wars LAN. My name is LaTigress, here with Vox. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I just realized I'm really tall today, Gabby. I'm so elated about everything that's coming up. And we got a doozy of a couple of sets coming up.
Oh, yes, we do. 2 sets that could potentially go even longer than that. But remember what's happening in November. It is HRX at DreamHack Atlanta, 16th through 18th. You can buy your tickets, well, right now. HiResExpo.com. Console Wars, Paladins World Championship, and your Smite content all coming at you. And then once the competition is done, we do have a celebration at the after party. You can purchase those tickets as well all the way through the end of today at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. But you better do it quick because these are only available periodically. But as well, you know, you see the Switches. We showed them yesterday. Have you gotten to play Paladins on the Switch yet?
I don't own a Switch, but Paladins being on the Switch is probably the biggest reason why I'm gonna get one. There are a couple of people that have them in the office, and the ability for them to just pick it up and walk around blows my mind. I've been a PC gamer for so long, and having all of my gaming be static and not portable is very frustrating, especially when I take trips like this to the US.
And now it's free, again, for everyone on Switch, just like everywhere else. Maybe we should just take these. Yes. I know that they belong to people back in production.
Well, that's a strong opinion there, Gabby. They're mine now.
Yeah, they are. Well, you have the longest flight really out of anybody here on the casting squad, so that's why you need it more than anybody.
I gotta get one.
But remember, we are in the latter part of this bracket. We watched a lot of sets yesterday, which were best of 3, and most of them went to game number 3. We do have another best of 3 to kick things off today between Flashpoint and Elevate to decide who will be joining Onslaught in the grand finals. Generally speaking, between Flashpoint and Elevate, what have your thoughts been on these teams?
Flashpoint play more European, Elevate play more North American. This sounds like it's a really stupid statement, folks. Again, the team that kills the other team fast is the one that wins, but Flashpoint do play this more decentralized, kind of spread out play style, which more closely mirrors PC. Elevate, they just play console. They play console Paladins. They play big circles. They play a lot of healing. They play what works. But Flashpoint's the one that's really interesting here because, again, they do diversify from that typical console meta. They do go for, you know, more of the Lians, more of the flex damage picks here. A lot of blasters. We saw some great Bomb King play coming out of Prosper Logic yesterday, which really helped them kind of cement their victory over Vexed.
How do you think their performance so far within this LAN compares to their LAN performance last time when they won?
Well, I got to say it's more purple this time around, mostly due to Prosper Logic's hair, but I think the adaptation right now has been, and the difference is what Prosper's brought to the table. Previously, it was a lot of Lian, a lot of direct damage dealers. Now it's blasters. It's AoE damage that's coming through to rival players like World Edit, for example, on the side of Vexed, and it's definitely paying off. We saw Flashpoint really go toe-to-toe with them yesterday, able to pull out on top and pulling out the Willow as well here. Again, diversifying that champion pool, fitting in with what's strong right now, pulling out a lot of this inbuilt anti-heal, and able to pull off flanks like this on a Willow. Insane stuff coming out of this player.
So did he just dye his hair purple last night?
Absolutely.
Do you have any idea of the reasoning? It looks awesome.
Apart from the fact that it looks kick-ass, well, I did have a bit of a question to him as he mentioned this on Twitter. I tweeted something about a purple mohawk, and then he's like, I just saw this. You're going to have a surprise tomorrow. My immediate response is, oh, dear God, no. What kind of just horror in the bathroom am I going to have to clean up after all this? Found out this morning that there was a rather purple shower. So we'll see how that goes, folks. But overall, I don't know. It's a good victory color. I like it.
Yeah, maybe
I dig it.
Allows him to channel some interplay. You know, there's a lot of superstitious things that can go into.
Maybe it's matching the Willow.
That's true. That's true. He was really feeling that Willow play. Just
method playing,
in general.
like method acting. You start maybe we'll see some flowers pop up as the time goes by.
So then in first game is hers purple. Next game we see some
Tier 5 evolving Prosper Logic skin. That's what I want to see in Paladins, folks.
There we go, for sure. But as far as the team overall using that blaster play, and are there any other strategies that you think that they could employ to try and take over Elevate?
Well, really, it's got to be how much anti-heal they can draft into their kits. We saw yesterday that Elevate, they just like going very stocky, very sort of, we're going to stand on point and you're not going to get us off point compositions because the sheer amount of sustain that they build in. So we saw yesterday Onslaught take that down with triple DPS. This time around, I think Flashpoint could go for that, or they could just build more anti-heal into their kits. Pull out the Lian, pull out the Cassie, pull out the Drogos, and pull out the Willow to shut that all down.
Just like Flashpoint, Elevate are also fighting to keep themselves in this and potentially in the grand finals. So let's go ahead and find out exactly how they're feeling going into this match. Hey guys, welcome back to the LAN. It's day 2. First question, pretty easy. I just want to know, how are you feeling going into the continuation of the bracket?
We're feeling confident. We studied VODs last night, see where our mistakes were, so feeling pretty confident that today is going to be a better day.
So you're going to end up going up against Flashpoint. Again, yesterday you had a pretty dominant I would say, series against them. Are you feeling just as confident as you went into yesterday for today?
Yeah, I believe so. Like he said, we went over everything. Everything in their set went right, so we're just hoping to repeat exactly what happened yesterday.
Interestingly enough, for this land so far, I believe everything except for the first set went to all the way to the third game. So were you expecting it to be this back and forth between all the teams, or did you think it was going to be more one-sided?
No, I think all the teams here are pretty even. I don't think there's like one super team that's just better than everyone. It just comes down to who drafts better and who shows up on that day.
Yesterday, during one of their post-game interviews, Flashpoint had actually mentioned that they kind of came into it not necessarily knowing what was going to be the meta, having to kind of relearn maybe some loadouts. Do you think that them having a little bit more practice on LAN is going to make them a more formidable opponent?
I believe that the practice they got yesterday against us and Vex as well will definitely help them, but then again, we also got practice too, and we're learning just as much as they are.
Last question for you. In this matchup against Flashpoint, what particular characteristics of their team's play style do you think are important to keep in mind for this matchup?
I don't know. I feel like they can pretty much play anything. I don't know if they're going to go double tank, triple DPS, but, over VODs, we have a pretty good idea of what they're going to run, so nothing should really catch us off guard.
Well, thanks for joining us, as always, and best of luck in your match.
Okay, thank you.
Well, they do seem to be feeling pretty confident. Made that comment that Flashpoint seem like they can bring out a lot of strategies against them if they wish.
Flashpoint can bring out a lot of strategies, but the one concerning part about Flashpoint is, will they choke? We saw this on Bright March yesterday, and, well, we might see it again today. It depends if they can kind of keep everything under wraps, keep everything going more smooth sailing, and don't make any panic dome shields at, 200 health.
Well, it's time to discover exactly where we are going to go for map number 1. Jaguar Falls and Bright Marsh seem to be the most popular out of the matches. We did start one on Fish Market at some point.
We've also seen Stone keep coming through as well yesterday, and I think that's going to be an interesting one to see if we'll maybe pull out something with a bit more verticality, something a bit more tricky and less two-dimensional than a lot of the console popular picks.
Ooh, Frozen Guard. So we're getting a little icy as Flashpoint decide to bring this forward. Why do you think they made the switch up?
I think that Flashpoint like linear maps. I think that also Flashpoint enjoy playing maps which are more open and more lengthy as opposed to more compact. We know that Elevate especially likes playing these compact maps where they can really group up around these big AoE healers. Now, if Flashpoint are able to take that away, if they're able to decentralize Elevate, they might have an advantage in the draft if they can play more into what they'd like. Also notice is, Flashpoint going for a second pick here might indicate that they could even be looking for a sniper on a map like Frozen Guard.
That's true. We have seen Prosper Logic on the Canessa on things like Serpent Beach before, where he has played tremendously. So it's not just blaster play that's in his arsenal. He has quite diversity as a DPS player.
And I think that's the whole thing, is whilst we've seen more Bomb King come out from Prosper, and we've seen the Willow come out as well, let's not shy away from the fact that very much he was a direct damage dealer previously. The Leon, the Canessa, maybe even the Cassie, champions like that were very much in their pool. So looking at Elevate to have their first pick, first ban here, they've already taken away Genos, Moji from Flashpoint, Drogo's in response as well. And it's interesting to see a Drogo's ban here. We don't typically think of Frozen Guard as being a more Drogo's-y map, but if you take away the Drogos, it's really not a Willow map. It's absolutely a poor map for Willow here. You're left with maybe just the Bomb King, and that might be something that Elevate try and strip away.
It shows the emphasis on Drogos as a pick in general, the fact that he's getting banned regardless of what map it is. Why do you think they opted for taking Terminus away?
I think that Terminus just plays really well into what Elevate want to do, and also by leaving Furia open, we know that Elevate will immediately prioritize that as one of their primary supports. This allows Flashpoint to go ahead and draft a Khan, maybe an Inara, get the, if they want, double frontline, maybe even a Makoa, away from Elevate that might allow them to play this really strong composition. And with a Khan as sort of this off-tank here, I'd really like to see them go into an Inara as a frontline here, but no, it's the Cassie that they're prioritizing.
This leaves a bit of an opening by not showing the hint with the frontliners early on. I guess they wanted to secure that Cassie as well. But Makoa, open, Elevate seems to be opting in for that as well as potentially the Willow.
So Makoa is kind of a given here, and Willow, while she's not as viable on Frozen Guard, has less verticality for you to be able to make use of Dead Zone and your AoE shots. With Furia, you are at least protected a little bit by the health and the shield which she can supply you up in the air in Fae Flight, so you're going to be harder to take down by champions like Cassie here. over to Flashpoint once again, I get the impression here that we're going to see a support pickup and we're also going to see a frontline pickup, leaving, if they want to run this double frontline composition, a last pick open for maybe that Kinessa, maybe a Strix, maybe a long-range damage dealer, but I am completely wrong. It's straight into the Liana as soon as the Willow's picked up, which you could argue makes a lot of sense given the fact that you just want to be able to take the Fairy out of the skies as quickly as possible.
So no sniper play from Flashpoint then, because Cassie and Leon, those are already secured for their DPS players with the double front line. They're just waiting on that support. But Willow, that's the thing. We've seen plenty of plays where Leon just locks onto Willow and says, no, not today.
And that's tough. The problem is Elevate can go into maybe a Fernando here, which it looks like they're going for. They could have even gone on Barrack here. Anything to kind of disrupt the objective, throw up some shields, because it's going to be quite difficult for Flashpoint with 2 direct damage dealers, Akan and Nara. Realistically, you're looking at a full team of direct damage healers with the support coming in last. It's very difficult to disrupt Elevate going for a point stack composition right now. You don't have big AoE damage to deny a lot of space, and Elevate are definitely investing into that. They haven't got a lot of damage drafted, but we've seen previously that that's not always the necessary part for them to pull out victory if you just can't get them off the point.
The third time that we're seeing the Furia Grok combination come through during this LAN, and it has proven effective in some cases.
And one of the big benefits of Grok as well is that you can run this Totemic Ward talent, which gives you CC immunity, or gives anybody within your totem CC immunity for up to 2 seconds after they leave that totem circle. With that in mind, that's going to mitigate overpower from Khan, Commander's Grab. It's also going to shut down Seismic Crash, Water's Field from Inara, as well as Maldama's Dread Serpent and Stun. This is a very, very good pickup against the CC-heavy composition which Flashpoint have drafted. However, we'll see if they have the damage to be able to kind of survive the storm.
As a reminder, this set is going to determine who will be facing off against Onslaught in the Grand Finals, so let's go ahead and get this party started with our casters.
With your casters, the party boys. I don't think she meant to do that.
I don't think she did, but the minute she said it, I was like, oh no.
Evan Rayner, William Newberry, Rain Day Goremizer here for you on the cast in our set today, which will be exciting, Gore, and, you know, we'll determine who hits that grand final spot against Onslaught, who are awaiting the winners.
And with the way things went yesterday, I mean, we got to see this exact matchup, but Flashpoint got a couple of games after that. Elevate did as well, but Flashpoint, after that last interview, when they're coming through, they're like, you know what, we're feeling a lot better about our LAN, like the way things are going, we're comfortable with everything, so they think they're doing a little bit better.
Well, who do you guys think will win this game? Personally, I like Elevate's draft. I think the Willow has been impactful. I think the Makoa alongside this Grok is going to be hard to bring down, and I think that tell me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like Flashpoint, see how well SJP performed on the Cassie on Fish Market prior, and they take that very, very early, and I don't know if that's going to blend as well into their lineup.
And it's just one of those things that Elevate right now are bringing in something that a lot of these guys have kind of forgotten how to play against it. They don't recognize Grok as well as they used to. And then you give them, like you said, Willow, you give them Makoa, you give them Furia, and you give them Fernando. Yeah. You are set up. There's 4 people on that team outside of Grok that are going to be win conditions, let alone the fact that he can do a lot of damage on his own.
And you're going to look at this loadout. It's all about creating space. It's all about keeping that totem alive with the extra health from Monolith Totem as well. 3 points into that, so 750 health off the base, which I believe is 1,000 currently, so that's going to take a couple of shots. Otherwise, just going to stay up and keep healing as it is now. And Gale, when he goes to the Ghost Walk, reducing the cooldown, so far working really well for Elevate Gore. 51% and counting on the objective for them.
And just being able to play it this way, you can see the healing numbers that are coming out on the side of Elevate are just too big for a Flashpoint. They don't have enough to shut them down, whereas on the side of Elevate, they also have the anti-heal to shut down what Flashpoint are bringing out. I mean, you are in this position where you really have to have a stellar performance from this Gas and Leon to even open the point.
I'll tell you what. That was no contest. I'm talking the other team didn't show up to the point. They didn't touch. And you look at an empty field and you say, you're on the court, you got the ball, and the other guy's not there. You're saying, am I wrong? Am I in a couple hours early? What's going on? And I think that's just the dominance of what Elevate's early lineup will do. And here's a Tempest as well. They want to keep pushing the envelope. Gore, they need to make a win happen early.
I mean, this is just the rough area, I think, to find yourself in. You go for Khan, you have kind of 2 healers, ultimately, when it comes down to it, between Maldamba and Khan. You're finally starting to get a little bit of relapse, but honestly, that feels like Elevate overextending more than really you finding a couple of good kills. You do get a little bit of leniency. You push them back, you can finally relax, but your healing isn't doing anywhere near as much.
I mean, it's the finals, essentially the losers' finals. This is win or go home. You win first point so easily, and I think you're feeling yourself. You're like, let's just keep this going. Let's keep the momentum. So they go into the early Tempest. Maybe not the best call. Minute and 30 seconds left, though. They'll have plenty of time to make a few more as Flashpoint gets settled on the defense. And back up, they cede a lot of ground, and that's already a commander's grab used to just move away. 8 seconds on the cooldown, and no battle shot as well. He's got to be careful.
This overpowered, this grab, the ult Khan has is the one I'm going to have to keep my eye on, because there were a few yesterday where if it comes out at the end of a round and you lose that defense, it is going to be useless for you.
That's huge. An atomic boom goes down. Good lad with the shots and Prosper Logic as well, making sure the Willow cannot stay in that Fae Flight for long. 58 seconds, and already you could see the Willow ultimate as well as the Inflame used from Cutie Neil, and it has worked for at least Neil. Good lad and Prosper Logic having to fall back now as the pressure seems to be mounting with Whoosh going into the Ancient Rage.
Now swinging around, they are still going to be able to pick up a kill on the Storm Avatar. The payload's moving forward. They have 40 seconds. Good lad Prosper Logic trying to get up on the high ground, though. Nice Wall's going to be able to block it, but that's a lot of ults. Elevate need this push.
I mean, Groctus is one with the wall there, apparently, and Prosper Logic one with the Enlightenment. And so both looking to be a little bit more enlightened than I'd imagine. Sir James Parker picking up Prosper Logic on the Leon. Notable switch up for him on the Fernando, but still playing it very, very aggressively as he finally goes down. An atomic boom in the backline. Can he do something crazy? No, not quite. Almost does the impossible, though.
I mean, heavy commit from Elevate there. But luckily for a lot of the ults they use, they're back at 60%. They're not going to have the Ancient Rage. They're not going to have Immortal. But I mean, Fae Flight, you're going to have that Inflame back again. Tempest is up relatively close as well. So it's not the end of the world, although you dumped a lot into trying to get a push that didn't come through. There were just a few moments, again, you can feel that maybe they're a little too jumpy. Like, they want to get aggressive. They want to fight. But there is a certain point where it's like you have to respect what your opponent can do.
Yeah, and I think respect is coming through now, and Flashpoint have been marked as the winners of last LAN and are coming into this one as expected winners until proven differently. And so far, Onslaught have taken that mantle and held it high above everyone else's standards today. And I think it's really up to everyone to start seeing Prosper Logic perform here on this Leon. They're counting so much on his death and taxes, Gormizer, to keep the healing down because notably, you know, they're running with Cassie Kinetics, but not a lot of people have picked up Cauterize except Legacy.
Being able to run through that. There's actually a little bit of morale boost as well for Elevate, so it's going to be a couple, I want to say, of like bouncing back. You have Flashpoint having to deal with what they were giving. You don't have that many credits. You didn't get the point. You have to use this perfectly fine. With that dash, okay, we'll get Atomic Boom.
I was like, that was kind of a bad character because she might have been able to dash on, but Legacy says, no, I know the aim. I know the strength of these four arms. I've been working out in the gym, and I've made sure to, you know, do my tricep extensions as well. So he makes sure to extend her out into the deep blue sea. 57% and counting here for Flashpoint.
If you start a fight like that, it's very hard to recover. You lose probably your main point control and damage overall in Willow. You don't have a lot to really push Grok in. You don't have a place to get Fernando or Makoa set up. Now you have the chance to come back in. You have those front lines that can touch down, and it's going to be very big on Atomic Boom to perform to make this point turn around.
This is deadly. This is deadly. She has the Inflame, and already the damage has come through. Beautiful stuff from Atomic Boom, and that's what they're relying on. Elevate have now gotten rid of the most dangerous anti-heal on the side of Flashpoint, and you just see the rest of Flashpoint crumbling like a cookie. 63% and counting now. Elevate seem to be in full control.
That was two fights back-to-back where it was just one team ripping the other one apart, and then it comes back.
No mercy.
Flashpoint, unfortunately, they were just a really strong piece of paper because they got ripped in return, and that's probably the more unfortunate point because now you're looking at, okay, 2-1, they can tie it up 2-2, 300 credits per point. That Elevate have picked up. That's 600 now in their favor, and that's why these items are going to start getting out of hand. If Elevate die again like they did last time, they're just going to spin back.
You're absolutely right, Gore. I mean, the economy and the net worth is starting to shift the way of Elevate in a big way. You see every single member far and beyond 500 credits from the highest to the lowest ahead of Flashpoint, which shows you the direction this game is going. Whoosh here into the Ancient Rage relatively early, but they've been willing to commit ultimates at this part of the map, Gore. Just hasn't worked out.
You know, the minute and 51 seconds, they'll be able to recharge some of it, but it's, again, kind of questionable. You're throwing them out just because you have them, as opposed to the advantage you could get from it. Not having a big fight and actually getting pushed back relatively hard. This is going to be Frozen Guard, and on a map like this, you can get held back. If you get a good defense, like just past the control point, then you can fall back to that last archway where they lost the fight. But it seems like Flashpoint are going to play it safe and just try to hold the base.
Ioneapi playing the Inara. This man had reverted to sub to coach. Swiper the one supposed to join these lads, but again could not make it, did not want to take that travel on. And Oppi now having to do an incredibly important role for his team, which is deal against a Willow, deal against a Fernando that's playing aggressive with SJP behind the reins. Brand, dead zone. I mean, my goodness gracious, there is a lot to fight against, but he is doing a good job thus far in holding this corner for Flashpoint.
We always talk about how unkillable Inara is, but when you take away the healing, Inara is just another champion, and it's very easy to get rid of her. That damage reduction doesn't seem to do anywhere near as much if you can't get pumped full of, and you can see Oppi getting relatively low.
Wow, that Pyre Strike almost hit him. That was close. I say Cutie Neal going from downtown here for the fade away jumper. Cutie Shoe having a great time to finish this off, and I think another little bit of play here with just burning down the shield is going to put them in a decent spot. The healing totem comes back up right on time. 23 seconds remaining, but now going into the Ghost Walk's going to make that healing totem up again. That is the power of Gale, ladies and gentlemen. He's just cycling through the cooldowns and keeping his team healthy.
And being able to do this, Fernando going to go down right after QT Shoe goes down. Furia not long for this world right after, and that's going to be another, looks like tail in defense. There might still be time to touch down and get an overtime.
Yeah.
But even Atomic Boom doesn't want to take on that task.
Yeah, I think they realize that that's about as far as they're going to go easily. Now, in a round 3, which is what we see a lot of these teams kind of start to take that final push and really make use of it, because the credit score would have shifted so highly, and it's not a credit report here. It's not, too detrimental to, house buying in the future for these guys. Still got time for that, but the credit score in this game, not very good, and if they go down by another 300, that's a full tier 3 item that they're going to be behind.
And you're at this point where, for me, if Elevate not only get those credits, get those items, if they just use their ults maybe a little bit later, a little bit smarter where they place them in these fights, then Flashpoint don't have anywhere near the defense they had before. They have to hold back. Legacy has to get a big kill at the beginning, and I feel like that has to be followed up with a big stagger. Like, you can't just immediately wipe them. You have to kind of get 30 seconds between the first and last.
I mean, they have 60,000 more healing than Flashpoint. I think that's telling the story more than anything. Magoa Hook misses up there, and that's most likely due to the firing line. CC immunity that Legacy has granted his squad. Seismic Crash here from Inara. Only Oppi looking for opportunities, but will he be able to op this point? I don't know about it. Good lad in trouble. Gorn, it looks like he's going to go down. Atomic Boom makes it out alive, but only for a moment.
Now going to be able to get a lot. So far, they haven't used the throw. Legacy's still going to be able to hold on to that, but you have both front lines available and getting aggressive. SJP can run you down in that corridor. He's going to go ahead and fall back, and he has pretty easy targets to go against.
I mean, that's a 2v1. If I've ever seen it, Whoosh holds them both back. That's an Inara and a Khan. You're talking about healing thanks to the Earthen Guard. You're talking about damage reduction. You're talking about shielding and walls, and Whoosh still stays alive. 840 health to his name. Finally, Prosper Logic finds the damage needed, but Elevate, if they back off here, could be okay. Good lad taking a big kill on a Cutie Shoe there.
As long as you don't end up staggering out, let your front lines get back, come through, there's going to be Fury. Atomic Boom has to play this carefully, or else it actually could end up being the point for Flashpoint. 72% as it rises for them. They're having trouble breaking through this eggshell.
And this Willow can't get to the point. Legacy doing such a good job, but this is going to matter for everyone's sake. And he gets up, and it's Flashpoint who grabbed the objective. They turn it around in round 3. And the reason, Gore, is just because they were not able to fully disengage. They got picked off as they were dropping back, and it allowed Flashpoint to truly secure a strong zone.
And being able to keep it the way they did. Yeah, your front line's on the side of Elevator, standing on the point. They're doing a lot. They're keeping space for you. The minute both of them go down, no one's there to retake the point. You give that percentage just over to Flashpoint.
And now Flashpoint in a position that we didn't see them in for the first 2 rounds, which is on the push, having to face off against an Inflame. SJP goes down as well. Shu with a double. Atomic Boom looking for one more, and it's Good lad running away back to the squad, and this is a smart play. And he's just going to regroup. Unlike Elevate, last point.
This is going to be probably the most difficult push Flashpoint would have to deal with.
Nice. That was a Khan ultimate, but immediate reactions from Shu with the healing totem to stop him from being pulled. That was brilliant play.
That's something you don't get to see often.
No.
That's something that, again, when I think of Grok, I typically think counter Makoa. You don't want to get hooked. Works the same way with the pull, I guess, in the long run. And that's going to be a big charge. Luckily, Khan retains 30%, so he's already at 50, but you're going to have to spend another minute charging that back up if you don't think you can push this. Otherwise, you're going to have to go full force.
And Gale is such a big deal because in that situation, Shu doesn't need his Ghost Walk. He's not in any danger. So if he's out of the cooldown for the healing totem, he just Ghost Walks real quick, cancels it, and then goes 5 seconds slower on that cooldown, and he's able to pop it. But this time around, iGoodLad is there with the damage. He's been playing phenomenally, though his stat line obviously shows it. He's been relatively quiet as far as the plays to be seen on the battlefield, but look at this. 2 kills have changed things around completely. Flashpoint, 40 seconds left, and about to close out game 1.
Tempest, Ancient Rage, both still available, both game-changing depending on how well you can catch Flashpoint out with them. Maybe just looking to try and force some of those ults. Get that little bit of an advantage for the next fight. But as of right now, Flashpoint, they lose Goodlad, and that's a big chunk of damage.
And I'll tell you what's so hard to play against on these wide open maps, the burst of Nightshade when you're already taking damage from other sources. It's almost impossible to avoid. It's really, really difficult. Again, I love Blast Flower. I think it's so good for general situations, and I think it does put you in more of a 3-shot range. But burst is burst, and at high levels of gameplay, Gore, you know it. That's what players value, and that's what sometimes gets the job done. And right now, he misses, but it ends up being Elevate defending successfully nonetheless.
It's just one of those moments where, again, when you look at the healing numbers that are coming out, Elevate, even when you kill them off, are just not dying often enough to make that big difference, to get those leaps and bounds that you want on the payload, to get it even close enough to the base that you could think overtime can do it. So now you're coming into this, and in my eyes, honestly, you want to try and prioritize a little bit differently if you're Flashpoint. You're looking at, again, the Grok totems.
Yeah.
I can't, Legacy can't use his ult. He can't throw anyone off the edge unless he catches them out in the right moment. So you want to maybe prioritize killing off Grok. You get rid of the healing and the CC.
It's really risky, but you could go for a bait. And you could throw Whoosh to the left side with Shu, give Legacy an easy opening for the Khan ultimate, and then immediately use that totem. The only way to get around that would be something like forcing it with a Seismic Crash early or a Dread Serpent, but they don't have the Seismic Crash, so it's really the Dread Serpent opportunity here. And he went for it, and I don't think he got it. He tried to use it, and the line of sight blocked it before it was possible, or it was Shu behind him, giving him the healing totem. We didn't see the perspective, and it does look like it was most likely Shu that maybe made that big play there, and now Legacy with no ultimate is in a bad spot.
Bringing in this Grok has made the biggest difference for Elevate so far in this entire tournament. Now they're picking up a couple kills because of it. They lose their Willow, though Atomic Boom has been a big chunk of their damage, and without him, that's a little bit of pressure, but they already hold the point.
Elevate looking so dang crispy today. I mean, the smooth ghost totems, the totem heals, and the ability to just pressure out on the zone. This is exactly what happened to Flashpoint. I think this one might just be in the bag.
Being able to control it pretty much from the beginning to the end. A little bit shaky on the pushes, and that last point that Flashpoint was able to attain was just well fought, I would say, from Flashpoint. But it didn't seem like Elevate were really too worried even after they lost that. They're like, well, 3-3.
Yeah. No, I mean, and you know what? That's when you start to look at, even though you push, but you get the defense, you now have gotten yourself a little bit of a taste of both worlds, what it feels like, and when you defend, you say, all right, that's usually where teams mess up. They win both rounds, and then round 3, they let the defense go through because they've never defended before in the entire game, right? They've always been on the offensive push, but now that you get past that hurdle, you're like, all right, we got the credit lead, we know what to do, we know what we did wrong, and Elevate just take the advantage that they've had and turn it into a win. What do you guys think was the most impactful moment? I definitely have to say Shu and that totem.
It's one of those things where it's kind of like the silent worker, right? Like you have frags coming out for Atomic Boom, you've got the front lines doing exactly what you need and also picking up a ton of kills. And then there's Shu just sitting in the background. He's healing a lot, he's keeping you safe, you're not getting grabbed by Legacy. Like, again, silent worker in the background.
And so the only way I would see that actually happened is either Shu put the totem, or there might be a minuscule moment, because remember, Khan pulls through walls. If you didn't see Lazy like pull somebody through like 5 walls in Serpent Beach, so that happens, but it might just be at the initial activation. He might have done it and then gone right down underneath the wall, and that broke the line of sight but activated the ultimate. So there's 2 opportunities. I'm going to go ahead and give it to the favor of Shu being awesome. Let's send it back to the desk and see what they have to say.
A tight 4-3, but Elevate come through in the clutch, and I have to agree with the casters right there. Shu on the Grok, it feels that their composition, particularly with that selection, seemed very well suited for the matchup.
It was a lot of different elements that really came into play there. It was also Shu's loadout, specifically investing into Outreach as one of the main loadout cards, increasing the size and the AoE of the totem, so it kind of covers half the map and a lot of the point of Frozen Guard, and then also investing into things like Gale very heavily, where you can just reduce the cooldown of totem if you need to by cycling in and out of Ghostwalk, and that combined with the other effects of the rest of the team was very, very powerful. It enabled them to just kind of bully out the damage dealers from the side of Flashpoint rather than anything else. It wasn't this kind of damage versus damage battle. It was just, we're going to get in your face and you can't do anything about it.
You mentioned when we were going into it that Flashpoint seems to favor these larger widespread maps, and when you end up expanding that area to just cover even more ground against them, that makes it a really compelling argument to try and counter that, and Shu was indeed the MVP selection from the audience, from the casters, and I think it was definitely some moments from a lot of the members of the team, but that pick in particular really seemed to stand out.
And it did do so much work. You can see a couple of, you know, clutch totems coming through here in combination with Inflame as well does actually provide Grok with enough damage. I don't say it's not a ton of damage, but it's enough damage, right? It's enough to be able to chase a kill down on the Maldamba or chase a kill down on the Cassie or the Lian or something like that. With that in mind, I think the Flashpoint kind of played themselves in this draft a little bit. Honestly, they went for what I think was the right strategy here. What they saw yesterday as well with how Onslaught beat the draft and the composition coming through from the side of Elevate, which is why you overwhelm them with damage, but they picked double DPS. They picked the Inara with the Waters Field into this composition, which wants you to pick crowd control, which wants you to pick utility rather than damage, because they can deal with it with the totem. With that in mind, I do think that having Flashpoint, maybe if they want to pull out a triple DPS, might be more viable. They didn't have the Janus available to them, they had the Maldama, which is also why they might have gone into this, but they definitely need something extra there. Maybe it's even a Vivian or a Victor who can just kind of sit around the edge of the map, out of range of the Grok, you know, out of range of the Fernando or the Makoa, and just kind of hold mouse one on the objective to see if they can burn people down.
And if you're looking at the items during the first half of the game,
oh
and you
my
see,
god,
okay,
those are really the Crocs.
Yeah, boy.
We really have Crocs on the desk right now. Oh wow, look at that. Those have been well worn as well. Those aren't new Crocs. These are just not show Crocs, folks. These are full on
prepared.
These are land Crocs right now. And you can see the amount of footwork going into some of the plays which are coming out.
You gotta work the shoes in. You gotta make sure they're comfortable. Shoes, if you just wear them for the first time, some are okay. I've never personally worn Crocs, so I don't know exactly.
You're not missing out hugely.
That's what I figured, though. I remember when at one time it was popular, you put the little, in the holes you can put the little
No, that was never popular, Gabby. That's entirely that's what, again, I'm going to refer to as a very strong opinion here.
Yeah, I was never drawn to the Croc life. We had too many actual Crocs in Florida to really
Speaking of strong opinions, though, Gabby, I do want to kind of pose a question to the audience as well. As we've seen Victor and Vivian so far, as we get ready for the next map selection coming through, we're seeing a distinct lack of Tyra, which was a very strong pick on console for a while, and we've seen, Burn Monster into a Grok with, maybe not the most effective thing if you've got CC immunity because the cripple is devalued, but a lack of Hunting Party Tyra, when you're going for these compositions which rely on their in-hand damage, might actually be something which you want to look at if you're Flashpoint. It might be something which is useful to pull out here, especially as we are heading to Bright Marsh next, where you do have this enclosed space. Tracking enemies around through walls with that reveal could be very useful, and the Firebomb is still good point denial.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. There's a lot of breaks on lines of sight that you could use that visibility around, being able to completely punish them with that Fireball, or with the fire, so that they can't actually step out of that area.
Look at this.
Grok banned away. He's just too much of a nuisance.
So already Flashpoint can actually run stuff like the Burn Monster Tyre if they want to, and you can immediately see just Shu sitting there going, okay, guys, no Grok. Do we take the Furia? Do we want to invest into the Furia? Because if they do, they give up Khan again. And we know that without the CC immunity, Khan, Makoa could be very strong picks here.
And they've been opting for that Furia combination with Grok, but Furia is just fine standing alone.
Also,
so
bear in mind that Flashpoint can actually pick the Willow for their side this time around. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go Khan Willow here, for example. That could be the strongest possible combination they can pull out early, and it is exactly what's selected here. So Flashpoint just getting power picks online for this map of Bright Marsh. We saw yesterday how much of their play relies on them controlling high ground, and Elevate might want to look at something which can either remove champions from high ground like Makoa with the Dredge or kind of get up there and box out. Maybe we're looking at the Bomb King here, maybe we're looking at a Buck as well, and it is Makoa and Bomb King that are being hovered.
And because Flashpoint locked in that Willow, they're not looking for the Bomb King, so I think if you still want that Blast Potential Drogo's banned away, then this is the way that you expect Elevate to go, taking that as their third pick alongside Makoa. So you have a DPS, you have your support, you have a frontliner, and on the opposite end with Flashpoint, Khan and Willow, what direction do you think they're going to go in adding to this composition?
I think that Flashpoint, having reliably run Maldamba before, can effectively go into maybe Inara and another damage dealer right now and leave Elevate just to kind of do their thing and get their picks in. They can't really look for more high ground control. They will hover over Terminus here, which is another potential counter to some of that enclosed space. I think the Terminus especially brings you a little bit more viability versus Bomb King, with the fact that you can reanimate if Bomb King invests all in into killing you, and also the fact that Power Siphon can be used to encompass a Grumpy Bomb and keep your team safe. As well as Cassie, which on this map has been a real power pick. We saw Sir James Parker go absolutely wild with him yesterday, so Flashpoint stripping that away as well is a wise move based on observation that they've pulled out.
Hey, set up Cassie in one of the side cubbies. She shoots from the window.
She
Keep
just
her
doesn't
protected
move,
with
you
the
know,
rest.
she just kind of does 100,000 damage in 10 minutes, and you're going, okay.
The enemy team just doesn't even know how to get to her, and that's how that happens.
Well, you know, Xin might be the answer here, and Xin and Fernando can put up a pretty formidable dive composition, especially if you can keep line of sight to this Furia who's able to heal you from distance, in combination with some of the zoning that comes from Pyre Strike as well, going through walls, going through ceilings, going through kind of everything. It's a very difficult comp to play into, but it's not actually the Maldama that's pulled out here. It is Flashpoint investing into Grover, which I love, Gabby, specifically because there is no big anti-heal counter on the side of Elevate. When that Whirlwind comes out, that's a whole new life for your team. That's a big save.
Elevate are only one game away from knocking out your previous LAN champs. Let's see if they can do it.
Let's see indeed. I think Elevate are in a great position draft-wise, but what do you all think? Who do you think is going to take game 1 or game 2 here between Elevate and Flashpoint? I believe that, you know, really the strength of that draft for me is getting the Furia early and being able to still get people on familiar champions. But the Furia and the Zen, that combination has proven unbeatable thus far.
I mean, yesterday on Bright Marsh, we saw exactly what Zen could do, and I feel like we're probably going to be treated to the same kind of showing throughout this game. Just a lot of damage, a lot of control, depending on whether he wants to go Yomi or Guillotine. Honestly, it doesn't matter to me because he's going to be able to hit hard. I feel like Guillotine's a little bit more popular for console, just so you don't have to worry about where is this third strike going. And
the two tanks, right? Yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. But I could see Yomi being used here, too. The reason being is because the firing line might actually mean that you don't get a lot of those guillotines off because it's a pretty simple CC immunity for 4 seconds to everyone near Khan. So SJP's got to be careful. He's got to pick his targets correctly. A lot of players here, including Grover, including Cassie, Khan, and Willow by themselves, have CC immunity in their ultimates. So you've got to really pick and choose your moments, so to speak. There are going to be moments probably where he is counted on one of those ults.
With Guillotine and Morale Boost, I feel like SJP is like just trying to charge up his ult
I need
faster.
as many as possible.
I mean, it's not going to be an 8-second cooldown, but he can get close.
And he's trying to go for the Willow here early. Good Lad's in such a bad spot, and that's just a better spot by SJP. He has the flank. No one's looking at him, and you got to wonder, in the Billow, is he going to make it out alive? Well, it's Zen. I mean, of course.
That feels like a question you don't even need to ask.
Yeah,
sometimes.
why did I ask that?
You set that up. Zen's going to be able to walk out. The Billow's no problem. Gets a good stun right there onto Legacy. And all you need from Atomic Boom is a couple of good sticky bombs and maybe a pincer from SJP. And honestly, that should be a death. But Khan, I think, is going to make it out alive just from retreating so far.
And so far, so good. And, you know, Vox mentioned not a lot of anti-heal for the Grover Blossom, but the Whirlwind, excuse me, and Blossom. But look at that brand on Fireball in the loadout. Woosh most likely running that 75% anti-heal to make sure that things do work out for them when they need a little bit of a burst of no healing on the side. 45% counting for Flashpoint, though. They have pushed Elevate back out of the objective for now.
And again, you're looking at Incinerate, and Incinerate's going to be the big one in Flame. Incinerate being actually spoken by Fury as they get aggressive, looking for a couple of kills with 500 health, a beautiful shield, and some great healing. But that's going to be Good Lad with 2 kills.
And that's Elevate falling. And doesn't look like they're getting up, sir. 69% counting here. Flashpoint have basically everything going their way, but can Elevate spoil the party for now? Good Lad getting close, but 6% now and counting, and there's the Zen, and it does seem that they've been able to touch Atomic Boom with the Bomb King rotation has made it back.
Now just going to be able to find a little bit of damage. All you need was the one opening, but you're losing a lot. Cutie Shoe going into the Ancient Rage just to get that health back, and now swinging as hard as he can.
And they've already used the Whirlwind. They've already used the Scout. This may be bad. They've got a Billow as well. Elevate, how are they doing this, turning it around by just the smallest of moments going in their way?
Now all they have to do is hold on to it. 93% going to be matched. And Legacy's going to do whatever he can. Unfortunately, his health bar does not have a lot of really leniency in that. Terminus going to be able to get back and touch back down, so overtime's still going.
And this is a very important overtime as well because the Terminus, 93% goes down. If he has the reanimate there, maybe that's a completely different story. Everyone's exhausted their resources, but Elevate do it second. And it ends up being that's the difference in capturing the objective. Wow, what a point fight.
Now looking for a little bit more Legacy.
Okay.
He's going to get taken down there. I feel like he was looking for kills, maybe looking for like some retaliation, revenge. And it was a little too soon for it. Not really going to afford anything. And now the payload's still just slinking around the side.
And who did he pick? I think he picked Shu there. or the Fernando. I got to figure out which one that he picked. But what I would expect, I don't know if this has actually gone through, but we know that the duration reduction on the potentiality of the ultimate for Khan is coming through into live servers. It is in live servers, but I'm not sure that that is actually still live now. He got out early. Might have just been he decided to throw him off early because he realized he was vulnerable and the damage was coming in thick. And Elevate happy with that result. 1:40 now, Gore, for them to push.
Being able to hold on, you're looking at Scout, Whirlwind, about to be charged back up, so Flashpoint are going to have those in the tank if they need to use them. But as things go, again, you die, you capture the point, you go back and you spend a little bit of those credits. Cutie Neal now has tier 2 morale boost, so Inflame's going to be coming up a lot more often if he can live.
I mean, this is a front line, ladies and gentlemen. Just absolutely back here flanking, soloing Legacy. We don't speak about his impact enough, but he's going to do the majority of the work here and finishing off the front line and the support. And Shu realizes it, just says, yeah, all right, you got me, man.
I like the call at that point. Whoosh,
Definitely
maybe a
the right
little
call.
bit too extended. I think the rest of Elevate were just like, you know what? Let's just relax for a little bit.
Yeah.
Reset,
Relájate.
then go back in. Legacy played that incredibly, and because of those couple of kills and the shots that he was just hitting, he went from 30% to 90%. He's at 95 on that ult. He's going to have it back for this next fight. He might even be able to use it one more time this round if he really wants to.
8 streak for Prosper Logic, and the King Bomb on the way for Atomic Boom. Elevate want to get this going, and they actually force the Willow ultimate, and they force the Whirlwind as well. Can they survive this moment? Because after these ultimates are done, that's a lot of resources used with only 30 seconds left, Gore, before the end of the round, and that's a big kill. It's essentially a team wipe on the Flashpoint.
B has
It
the
is.
animate. Not going to use it. He's going to be able to hold on. Unfortunately for him, that does mean he's going to stagger himself actually a little bit longer because he's waiting just to see if he's going to go through, looking for some high ground pulls. But with 10 seconds left, this payload's coming around the last corner.
7, 6,
5 seconds. 4. They've got to make a move here, and the Terminus is back. He's got the reanimate as well. Ancient Rage available for Shu, but it's a bit of a gamble. If he wants to use it, Gel Spin knocks up Legacy, goes into the firing line battle shout. And I only up B is on his last bit of health, and now here's the question. Do you reanimate? He's going to go for it, Gore. He comes back to life, and it's countered by the Zen, so he's not going to take any damage. The Ancient Rage right back at you, buddy, and it ends up being Elevate who turned the tides, but Atomic Boom is low, and that's the stun from the Grumpy Bomb. The biggest assist in the game comes from the inanimate object, but it turns out to be not enough, because overtime taking away and Flashpoint with a successful defense.
I think that is a winning fight for Elevate if one thing goes differently, and that is that Neil died to the reanimate. It was just that awkward moment of, am I far enough away as
Yep.
Furia? I'm not around the corner just yet, and he gets clipped by that. That healing, those numbers make a huge difference, and not having that presence there makes it so much easier for Flashpoint to just jump down, kill you off, because the damage is going to be permanent. You don't have any way to retaliate.
I mean, whenever we see a team fight and a Terminus gets a kill on reanimate,
Yeah.
that's usually a win,
Especially
for
when
the
it's the
team.
healer.
Because it's a 1v1 trade, right? It's a 2-point switch. You know, you get your guy back and you take one of their guys away, or girls in this instance, as it did end up being Cutie Neal. KDA's looking pretty good across the board for SJP and Neal and Shu. And definitely Prosper Logic keeping up with the big boys there. Has Rejuvenate too, so really prioritizing getting the most out of this Efflorescence Grover as long as possible.
Going in, immediately
Yeah,
eviscerated.
what?
I don't know what I Only Op B was trying to accomplish, but it did not go the way he envisioned it. No reanimate this time around, so he's not going to be able to come back. And that just makes us an immediate 4v5 for Flashpoint.
It looked like me trying to do some woodwork. Like, Evan, what is that, a table? Is that a chair? I don't know what you
Could be
attempted to
both.
make. Yeah. Yeah, it's a chair table. It's
Depends
a table.
on where you happen to be sitting. If you're on the floor, a chair becomes a table.
Yeah,
Or
trust
something.
me, if you want me to rebuild your porch or do anything like that, I'm not the guy. And Elevate, they look like, if you want to win a point, they're the 5 guys you need for it. 96%, 99, and Elevate captures this one way easier than the first time around.
Good lad going to be able to pick up SJP, but again, you're looking at the kills that are coming through
Nice open.
when they don't matter as much, right? You're getting a couple of kills, you're finding another ult from Legacy immediately, but Elevate already got the point. You're using all this stuff. Again, it feels kind of like
Man.
revenge, like you want to show them, yeah, we can win a fight.
Right.
But it doesn't matter.
I don't know if I would have gone for that there, but I like that he uses it. Legacy not afraid to use his ultimates, and that's a strong character trait in itself in a player. And
Yeah.
I think Legacy shows that he's not afraid to make big plays, make big calls. And that's why he had the success last LAN that he did. Prosper Logic here, so much is riding on his performance on this Cassie because it's 2 games in a row, and this is the game where if they lose, they go home, that they've tried to take it away from SJP, who just had this amazing performance. Prosper, we've seen him on the Leon, we've seen him on the Willow, we've seen him do things like that, but really giving up that role as a result of prioritizing this Cassie.
And with the way things have been going, you can see, like you said, a lot of the strengths that I feel Flashpoint have, not necessarily getting stripped away. Cassie kind of similar in play, but then you get ults like that.
And you see the way he's looking, right? And this is a limitation of console gore. With 1 minute and 18 seconds left, you can see he had to look completely up to do that. There's no space bar on your mouse that allows you to look down while moving up. And so they have to look up to get up there. And that was just the biggest problem for him. He just doesn't see Zen, who finds a couple of quick shots midair and now puts his life and his defense in jeopardy.
Going to be able to pluck Op B.
Nice
with his life
strike.
one more time as well. Not a lot of ults available on the side of Flashpoint or on Elevate, but you have, I think, the ones that you need. Inflame, as well as that Spike coming through with Guillotine. You're about to have Immortal. If you're looking to make a push, this is going to be the one, although Elevate will only get you 3-1, so it's not a game-winning point.
And Legacy again with an overpower, and then the stun coming through from Atomic Boom, and that is an Atomic Boom heard around the world. Op B goes down to Whoosh. Whoosh here firing the Flame Lance. It has one fireball left. The Seedling comes in, and he's just going to use the Immortal. And there's the Inflame. Atomic Boom goes in with the extra damage to try and finish off the backline. Storm Avatar gets the brand. He's not going to get that same amount of healing. It's a push for Elevate, and they're going to go ahead with a potentially game-winning point coming up next.
Being able to go 3-1, again, a lot of moments where you see Flashpoint having success. Good Lad, Prosper Logic, they keep picking up these double kills, triple kills throughout the rounds, but it's not giving them the strides they need. It's one of those things where you're winning these fights that don't matter and losing all the ones that are very important for you. You're using a lot of resources in those fights that really don't change anything. And then because of it, when the fights that matter, you don't have anything. 10% right now on the grasp from Legacy. Not going to be able to throw anyone off. The best they have, maybe the Fae Flight, specifically Reanimate, should come up for Flashpoint before they get in there.
And I just think they choose the wrong target. I mean, I know why they're going for Shu, but I think Neil's the most important target to get off the battlefield. I think the Furia or the Zen are the ones that you actually want away because they're the ones who buy the most time. They're the hardest to deal with quickly, and they make everyone else, Neil's case specifically, way harder to deal with. As you see, the heal comes through on Whoosh and now forces Op B back, who is trading out relatively evenly with Storm Avatar up top.
And both Furia Zen have morale boost. That was a 50% charge ult at the beginning of this round. 75, a couple more hits. That's going to be 100.
Wow.
With 87. I mean, you're just going to run through the team.
And he knows it. He's going into the Billow. He's got the Guillotine for when Op B comes back alive after the retaliation. I think that's what he's going to use it for. The firing line has to be preempted, and they don't see it quite yet. And this would be a very smart time to do it. And there's the Guillotine, as we talked about. Legacy is down. Elevate just swinging their swords onto the ground because they know this is most likely it, Gore. They're moving on into the grand finals.
63% as they continue pushing, and this is going to be the best defensive line you can get. Aggressive, but maybe too aggressive. Atomic Boom getting low. You do have Prosper Logic trying to break through, but he's not going to be able to touch down for overtime.
That'll do, Pig. That will do. Elevate. Take it in 2, and they move on. Great set from both teams. Sportsmanship all around. SJP in the squad looking like, who's next?
That's the most relaxed victory I've ever seen. Like, out of any team, when it's, we could potentially get eliminated, and it's just, nah.
Yeah.
They weren't worried. You could tell Elevate. I think, again, coming from their drafting, game number 1, they drafted excellently against Flashpoint. Game number 2, it wasn't necessarily a lot of counters, but they knew that what they had was strong enough that they could ride that wave.
It only scares me when they sit too long. I'm like, do they think it's a best of 5? Like, are they? Is this happening? No. Hey, man, we were told it was a best of 8. Okay, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm playing 8 games before I go home. Nice stuff there, sportsmanship from Sir James Parker. You got to wonder, was it just the over anticipation of the Cassie and the impact it would have? Sometimes you want to let it go one game and then adjust versus, basing your own lineups off of that.
And depending on how things like that go, I mean, we've seen it in the past where, okay, I'm going to take this because you're really good at it, but I'm nowhere near as good as you are, so it's just not going to have the same impact.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that's the issue. It seems like they might have handicapped themselves there a little bit, but what do you all think? Who was the MVP for today's game? I don't know. It's a hard one to say. Do you have any initial thoughts?
I mean, there's so many.
They
that
all
played
so well.
I want to lean a little bit more towards SJP just because I think he did a lot of good damage. but I think you give it to any 5 of them.
Yeah, I think, for me, what stands out is the management of that last point fight. I think the Zen finding Prosper Logic early, I think then staying alive with the counter into the Billow, and then guillotining onto the I only got B reanimate Terminus after he's reanimated. I think that was probably what secured the point fight the most. But that's going to do it for us here on the cast. Let's send it back to the desk and get ready for those grand finals.
The grand finals are soon to come as Elevate have secured their spot in it against Onslaught. But what a performance as they take it in 2-0.
I'm going to have to, first of all, get myself a North American flag, I think, at this point around. Got to ditch the EU blue banner right there.
You still got the EU look going on, so.
A little bit. I mean, what can I say? But hey, overall, again, Elevate played that last point fight phenomenally. The way in which they had the target focus against Ione or B, I think, was the real decider of this game for me. Or was a weak link, straight up, in this game on the Terminus. Wasn't performing as we have seen other Terminus players do. One curious factor which I found as well is that they were playing a bit of peripheral frontline, trying to maybe block some of the damage incoming for Cassie with Power Siphon so she could free fire down so Prosper Logic could do some work, but this left Khan on the objective, and then this Terminus just gets burned down from so many different angles once the point is forced away because Khan can't hold that as well as Terminus can. There's no amount of healing in the world that can keep Khan quite as safe as that Power Siphon can prolong Terminus's life, and as a result, at the end of that, and I've just heard coming through, it is Sir James Parker with the MVP play, some of those guillotines in spites onto the back of a reanimating Terminus. My goodness.
It was one of the key factors in keeping this Terminus under control because the Terminus was 3-10-5 going into that last round.
Yeah.
And SJP finding the right moment. It's a common strategy we've seen. If you do have a Zen against a Terminus and they just reanimated, it's a great way, especially with Guillotine, to just shut them down.
Well, here's the curious thing as well. I think that this was also a demonstration of Flashpoint just not playing quite as cohesively as they needed to because Guillotine Spike can actually be just broken straight up by using the Battle Shout from Khan if you're providing CC immunity from the firing line talent, and ultimately there wasn't that reaction in there. Firing line was, and the Battle Shout was forced out too early in a lot of situations, and this did end up meaning that SJP could kind of go nuts with his in and just target whoever they wanted. That CC immunity wasn't there, and that's the really big problem for me, Gabby. That's the crux of it all, is just there was no protection, there was no defensive play coming out of the side of Flashpoint.
I think Prosper Logic still had a good game, but do you think that they were leaning too much
I don't
on
think
him?
that Prosper has a bad game. That's the thing. I think that Prosper just does Prosper things every time we see them. And I think the problem was ultimately that there was just a lack of cohesiveness between the front line of this squad. That's why there are bits missing for me. It was the fact that the front line wasn't playing as well as they needed to as a whole unit. They were playing independently. And it's okay to say, like, well, the damage dealers just kind of sit there and do damage, but if they haven't got the support from the rest of their team, if the front line isn't making space or can't reactively peel for the Zin that's diving the backline for them, there's not much that you can do.
And some of that displacement was due to Shu on the Makoa getting great hooks to take them out and eliminate them. So it was a team effort.
We can kind of harp on a little bit about, well, Flashpoint didn't play quite as well as they needed to, but Elevate played lights out this game.
I'm sure Elevate are feeling pretty good after that set going into the grand finals. Let's throw it over to them in the interview booth.
Well, congrats, guys, on your win. And I have to kind of ask, I mean, afterward, we go to the player cams and we're looking at it. You guys, normally we see people jumping up out of their chairs, they're cheering. You seem like you just kind of expected the win.
We were expecting to win, but they're really a strong team because they've been studying us after we beat them, so they know what we're going to run. So we try to surprise them. They didn't expect me to play DPS, they didn't expect Parker to tank, and we were switching around roles.
Yeah, we completely changed our draft for these games, for sure, because we knew they were going to do the same thing.
So did you think, because the Cassie felt like a high pick for them, did you think that they were trying to adjust to what you guys showed in the first set with, the ability for SJP to play Cassie like that and on the fish market stuff? Was there any type of anticipation that we had to adjust?
We knew they wanted Leon, for sure.
We knew the pick Frozen Guard, we knew they want to go long range. So what we're going to do is when they pick Leanna and Cassie, we figure, okay, they just pick Rock, we just be cheesy, and that's it.
We'll just play around point, and if they want to pressure us, they need to move into us with their long range. And if we just, pillar hump, they can't do anything.
Right.
There was a lot. I mean, Grok in that first game ended up warranting a ban in the second one. Was that something that you guys had practiced? Because it seemed like you knew every position you needed to be on for the map.
Oh, we played Grok a ton. I mean, she's been playing Grok forever. I've been playing Grok forever, and it's just like a great pick. It's like a niche pick, though. You can't just, first pick, it's got to be last pick, and they have to pick the picks you want them to pick it.
There was a moment in that last team fight where Legacy went for the overpower on Atomic, but the Willow, for whatever reason, was that the totem? Was that just the line of sight that blocked it?
It was an outside because I knew he was gonna ult me.
So you just dipped right back once you heard it.
Already, so I just head glitch and came back down.
Wow, I was wondering what that was, and I was like, well, she was running Crackle, so the 30%, I was like, I didn't see him, but it did feel like maybe it could have reached. Overall, I mean, great management of that set, and moving on, Grand Finals, how do you guys feel about taking on Onslaught?
It's gonna be some really good games, I think. Gonna be tough. I think we gotta beat.
You gotta reset the bracket. You gotta beat them 2
yeah.
best of 5s in a row.
Yeah,
we're ready though. I mean, we're warmed up now. We want to get in there and just play and just do our thing.
We studied everything they did. We already we saw our mistakes, and we probably won't try to do it again.
Yeah, we're just trying to tighten up. I mean, we went over VODs and we talked a lot this morning, and I think we're ready for them.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to see you guys in the finals. Give everybody a good show.
All right, can I give a shout out to Tommy Jet back home?
#FreeTommyJet.
Free Tommy Jet. And shout out to Swipe the One and
Onichi.
EKD Grayson.